What up, guys? It's your boy Yaahn Hunter Jr. I'm your host today, and I'm going to be breaking down my track, That Gospel Swing, featured on gospelcreators.com. Let's get right into it. So for the drums, it's kind of like a layered thing going on. So the first thing with the kick is I have the SSL G channel on majority of the drums, but for the kick drum, this is what I used for that. Let's turn this off. So let's turn on the SSL G channel. So it's just giving us some clarity and some punch. This is a really good plugin. I have my affiliate links in the description of this video if you guys want to check this plugin out. And so I'm using the X32, and the X32 has like some crazy sub low end on it. So I just got rid of that extra sub stuff by using the Pro Q3. So that's what's going on there. And that's pretty much it for the kick drum. Then I combine that with some samples by using Trigger. And I got some really good samples for you guys to check out, link in the description. And so with Trigger, this is giving us this sound now. All right, so without it, turn it back on. And that's pretty much it for the kick. So let's go into the snare. The snare is layered up. So with the snare, I have the SSL G channel, same thing, and that's giving us this smack. Cool. And so I have that layered with the pull tech here, and that's just giving us more bite and crispiness on the top. So let's turn both of these off. Turn it back on. So that's what's giving us that crazy bite. We have a snare trigger, and it's the same gag. So we combine the trigger snares with the acoustic snare, and it's just giving us some more fullness. They're just working together. So on the snare bottom here, we just have a gain because I flipped the phase on there. And then again, we have the SSL G channel. So that's the majority of what's on the drums, guys. It's just this G channel. The way I'm compressing this one is the opposite form of compression from the top. So this is just getting majority of just the release vibe, and I'll solo that for you now. So you're not getting any of the attack, you're just getting the release, and then the top snare is giving us the attack. So that's how I'm using both of those together. So let's move on to the toms. It's the same thing, guys. I'm literally using the SSL G channel on the toms over the whole entire kit. And let me know in the comments if you guys are interested in a deep dive on how to use the SSL G channel. With the toms, I have the toms going to a bus, a tom bus. And on the toms bus, I'm using the CLA drums, and this is just brightening up the toms. So what I'm going to do for you guys now is I'm going to bypass all of the plugins on the toms, and then I'm going to turn them back on so you can hear the difference between the two. So that's the tom. So again, they're recorded clean, and I took my time tuning them. So now let's add the SSL G channel on all of the toms. One more time. Cool. And then we have the CLA. So that CLA is just making the toms sound like official stadium toms. And let's go to the hi-hat. So the hi-hat, same thing. I'm using the G channel, just rolling off this low end, getting rid of the mud. Then we have our overheads. We have the overheads bus to the overhead bus. And so we're basically just using the virtual mix rack. This is a really good rack to give you some nice analog simulation, but clarity as well. Let's solo the overheads and turn the processing off. So now let's turn the processing on. Let's pull this up for you guys. So what we have going on here is we have some saturation going on with the virtual channel. And then we have some compression going on with the FG401. And then not much happening here on the SSL simulation. I'm not really using that, but I am using the Neve simulation and rolling off some low end, adding a little bit of clarity from there. And that's pretty much the individual drums. Then the last but not least is we have drums bus, and this is giving us some shing on the top end and a little bit of thickness from the revival saturation. Not much happening on the SSL, and the Neve is giving us a little shing on the top. So let's turn this off and let's turn it back on. All right, let's do the solo of the drums. Let's turn this back on. You can see that we're getting a lot of clarity. And I'm using the L1, and this is just basically keeping the drums from peaking. So this allows me to get more loudness. So I'm just getting rid of the peaks by turning the ceiling down. That's just pretty much it. Then last but not least, we have our drum verb coming from the Verb Suite Classics from Slate. And so all of that together is giving us this vibe. The drum loop that I'm using is from my loop pack, my personal loop pack, and you can check that out. I have the link in the description for this, and it's just a nice power drive loop. All of these percussion effects of these right here. Yeah, all that's from Splice. So let's get into this Moog bass. So this Moog bass is the Mini V from Arteria. And so this is my custom preset. And don't worry, I'm going to have my presets available. So this is what I used for this patch. I created this one and altered it to my liking. And I just have some channel EQ for this top mid-range because that's where it's singing. And then I boosted some of the low end using Pro Q. And I actually EQ'd this in mono. So it's just boosting the low end straight down the middle. So it's not a stereo bass widening. So that's what's giving us this presence. So let's do before and after. So this is what it before with the plugins off. All right, let's turn it back on. So just more in your face, and it just, again, cuts through the mix. And I solved a lot of that through the patch itself where it has like a nice grit feel. So on the keys, we have Omnisphere, but it's really Keyscape. And I'm layering the LA Custom C Grand with the MKS EP2 Gospel. So that's the patch itself. So let's solo this with no processing. I added some EQ for presence and getting rid of the mud so it won't clash with that bass, you know, because again, I turned up like 60 hertz where the bass was. So now this is not interfering with the bass. And I added some 1K because that's where we audibly hear piano. And then I put some Vitamin on there. This is from Waves, and I use this for presence. And that is just turning up like the glass sound of that EP. And then last but not least, we have the CLA 2A compressor. And this is just giving us consistency in the dynamics. Let's play with the track. So See what I'm saying? So it's just giving us consistency around the whole track pretty much. Next, we have our guitars. So what I'm using for these guitars are the Contact Session Guitars, Electric Sunburst. And this is really good and effective for this type of stuff. So let's solo both of these. I did 2 performances, one for the left, one for the right. On the bus for the guitars, I didn't do much. All I did was put some Pro EQ on here just to roll off the low end so it's not clashing with the bass, and some nice compression. And that's it. Next, we're getting into the orchestra hits. Oh, I've been getting questions about this. So this is the JV 1080 from the Rolling Cloud. I have an affiliate link for this as well if you guys are interested. And it just helps bless the Gospel Creatives channel. So here it is right here. Here's the Impact hits. And yeah, I didn't put anything on them. I just let them reign supreme as is. The organ that I used is from my Clutch Patches. I have the link in the description for that. And this is the vintage B3 vibe. All I used on this was just some Pro EQ. And again, just roll off the low end so it's not clashing with the bass. And then I just put some compression on there, the CLA 2A. And that's giving us that consistency throughout the whole track. Cool. This is a synth that I love to use from the Motif. If you have the Motif series, search for the Profi synth. And I just let these reign supreme. I should have rolled off the low end on these, but I did not. But yeah, that's just the synth that I use throughout the track. Let's play with the track. And same thing with the strings. This is also, again, from the Motif, the medium ends or the mediums strings. And so I put some sample delay on here from Logic just to spread them out a little bit. So I slowed down the right side just to give it some width. And then for the vocal chops, I'm using Arcade. All right, so I used Hooked, and this preset is Something Like This from Arcade. Really useful for vocal chops and other miscellaneous stuff. Put like a little megaphone effect on here, just kind of EQ'd the low end off and rolled the top end off. I put some delay on here using Comeback Kid, and then I put some reverb on there. So if we turn all this off, it's just going to sound like this. So that's what it sounds like native. And then with the EQ, then with the delay, and then with the reverb. This is what I would consider sound designing. Let us know if you want to cover sound design. Please comment and let us know. So then last but not least, we have our bells. And this is also coming from the JV 1080. Cool. And all that together is... So let's get into the master processing really quick. So first we have our compressor, our solid state stereo compressor. So let's put this on. So you hear how the drums just got more aggressive. Let's turn it on. So it's just gluing the track and the drums are able to lead, which I really love. So then after that, we have our virtual mix rack, and that's giving us clarity and some saturation going on in here. So let's turn this on. Let's turn it off. Turn it back on. So it's getting warmer and brighter at the same time with using air for the brightness and using the virtual channel and the mix bus for warmth. Then we have our virtual tape machines from Slate as well. And this is just literally warming up the track to the next level. So now the low end is like fully saturated. Let's turn it off. Turn it back on. Giving us a lot of warmth. Then we have some nice, more saturation coming from this inflator. All right, and then last but not least, we have our ozone. And in ozone, there's quite a bit of stuff going on in here. But this is what's giving us our loudness. So we have our vintage limiter set to tube, and then our maximizer. All right, and so then last but not least, we just have our level meter. So I have this for general level, just to see where I'm at on my RMS levels. Then I have tonal balance to see how am I across the whole frequency spectrum. And you can see like everything is sitting at a balanced position, and this is what's allowing me to get my sonics to be able to check that. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Gospel Creatives, and turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss anything else from our community. We're excited to help you, and let us know in the comments what videos you would like to see in the future, and we'll see you next time. Peace.